Hey Seekers, welcome to the temporary studio. I got this done today just before the redacted show. I literally sat down after finishing, like mounting the camera and everything at exactly 2 o'clock p.m., jumped on the show just as it was starting. So this is only temporary. I got wires and stuff everywhere. It is a complete and utter mess, but this is not going to be permanent. Still got these, plastic like insulation walls back here, but I just threw some lights on it and it makes it look okay. It's kind of, I don't know. I'll put some stuff back up here in the trussing and stuff to kind of hide that, maybe some plants or some ivy or something. No, I don't know. I don't know what I'll put back here, but I'll put some stuff on the desk so that it, doesn't just look like I'm in an asylum, which I am. It's pretty much a padded room. I can imagine that this is what a padded room would look like if you were in one. I don't think it would be this big, but yeah, it would probably be padded. I'm looking out. So I have these egress windows, but they're completely covered. But there's something over here that's reflecting back. I think it's the dolly, but it looks like a cat sitting there with glowing eyes staring at me. That's what it looks like. I know that's not what it is, but that's what it looks like. And it's kind of freaky. Hi, kitty. I would so freak out if it like moved, because it's like a covered egress window. It's got like this big piece of glass over the top of it, or plexiglass or whatever. So if it got in there, that would not be good, but that's not what it is. But just look like it's just like staring at me. But anyway, I wanted to talk just a few minutes about, what's going on with the elections and stuff. Like, this is insane. Like, I was really impressed that Trump brought RFK Jr. in. I think that was a brilliant move. I think that that's what needs to happen. And I've seen people all over Twitter, X, whatever, saying, if he brings on any more Democrats, I'm out of here. This is BS, It's like, but no, this is great. This is what you want. This is what has to happen. In order for us to fix things, we have to listen to ideas from every side. I mean, think about if the founding fathers would have been like, I'm not talking to those, those deists. I'm not talking to those Episcopalians. I'm not talking to those people. Screw those people. They don't believe the same way I do. So I'm not even gonna humor a conversation with them. We should all be like just overwhelmed, or just like, not overwhelmed, but like, we should be fully supportive of what's going on. Like, in order for us to move forward, we have to put aside our differences. Like, it's not like he's going to bring in some radical, some completely left-wing or right-wing nut job. At least hopefully he doesn't bring anybody like that in. But the people that he's bringing in are good people. And like, imagine if he brought in somebody like Dennis Kucinich or somebody like that, like full, like lifelong Democrats that is showing other Democrats. When you start getting people that, other Democrats fully support, and then all of a sudden they're joining Trump, they're going to be like, wait, what's going on? I mean, RFK Jr. answered a lot of questions when he talked about how the Democrats have been stopping him all along the way, that they're the party of democracy, but they are the ones he's been fighting this entire time to even get any kind of press coverage or anything. Like, he could get no message out there because they were there to block him every step of the way. And then, we know Tulsi has changed over time. She was disenfranchised by the Democratic Party as well, and she left. And I don't think she officially became a Republican, but she definitely has ideas that are left-leaning, as does RFK Jr., but I'm totally fine with it. Some of the things that they are for on the left, I'm for as well. I mean, it's like all of a sudden, I kind of feel somewhat representative. I call myself politically homeless. I don't feel like I have a party. I don't feel like I have representation. But if you bring all of these minds together, it's like there's a little bit of representation in there for all of us, right? I don't feel like Trump represents me. Now, with some of the things that I do agree with Trump on, but I kind of look at his record. But then again, like people been saying, he was fighting the deep state the entire time he was in there. So that's, I can't even comprehend what that must be like. If you're in there, you're trying to make change, you're trying to do things, and you're fighting these people every step of the way. but he brought some of those people in there himself, you know? So it's like, on one hand, yeah, I agree with him on things, but it's also like, you know, you have a track record. But some of the things that are important to me, he did have under control. You know, the economy wasn't where it is now. You know, gas prices and stuff were lower. The border was basically under control. You know, we've had JJ Carroll on our show many times on Redacted, and he's talked about how under control it was under Trump. You would never know that if you listen to the Democrats right now, because they're saying that that's completely not true, that it was worse than it is now. But it's like, we see these things. So it's like, I feel like this coalition that's building is, in a sense, kind of like, okay, now you're all represented. We're gonna represent all of you in some capacity. You might not get everything you want, but we're going to make sure that we're discussing things in an adult manner. You know, just having hardcore conversations about what needs to happen. And the one thing I will say about Trump is he does listen. He does listen. He has changed things based on feedback, based on hearing what people have said. So, you know, I don't think he's completely like so arrogant. And I mean, I know he's arrogant. I know he's arrogant. He has an ego from hell. That is one of the things I don't like about him. But I think, you know, since his last time, he seems to be listening to the people and listening to better, what do you call them when people are in his ear and everything? Better, not counsel, but you know, just better people. He's just got better people around him, I think, this time. Now, I know that some of those swamp creatures are still there, and hopefully he can deal with them, but I think that he's getting better advice from better people now. So that's just my personal opinion. I don't know if that's factual or not, but it just seems that way to me. Just looking at the, you know, the contrast of last time and now, I just feel like that's what I see. So that to me is reassuring, because, you know, I feel like, oops, my camera. Like, I have a bit of OCD when it comes to my camera shot. Like, things need to be lined up and something was a little off. And then once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. So I just had to fix it right away. But anyway, I feel like people who are, you know, freaking out because he's bringing in some Democrats and stuff like that. I think you should relax, and I think you should look at this as a positive thing, and think back to the founding fathers, and had they not, you know, crossed party lines and crossed ideologies and put those differences aside for the greater good of the country, for the greater good of what they were trying to accomplish, and understand that if we don't do this, if we don't bridge that gap, and we keep that gap getting wider and wider and wider, it will never get fixed. We're always going to be so divided. But if we can create a bridge that brings more people in toward the middle, because I've been saying that for years, the only way we're ever going to fix anything is if we all venture toward the middle. You know, like I said, we're all on a spectrum of right and left, and then you got the fringe, the far left, the far right. But until we move to the middle, those fringe are going to stay out as far as they are now. But if we all move into the middle, which is what has to happen, they're going to have no choice but to move toward us, because we're not going to move back toward them. And they're just going to kind of weed themselves out through seeing how things will be working for more people in this scenario. Hopefully, you know, we already know that they're trying to rig it. They're trying to fake all this support. And like I said, they use propaganda to make you think they have the support. And now, by doing that, they actually do have a lot of support. So, but it's the giant machine is behind her, the media machine, the propaganda machine, the social media machine. You know, so they do have an advantage there. Their rhetoric is more promoted than, you know, what's going on the right, and they are very good at identity politics. They're very good at propaganda. They're very good at charging their base with things like abortion, you know, women's right to her body, you know, free money, basically communism, socialism, however you want to look at it. Which, you know, I have some thoughts on that stuff that are personal that I can get into in another video, but I just feel like they are the party of identity politics and ideology, right? That's it. There's no substance. There's no policy. We've seen how their policies work. They don't. And what policies they even say they have. I don't even know if Kamala's website even has policies yet, but like all the stuff that she's spewing right now, saying that she's going to do, would not be good for us. It would not be good for us. It would not be good for the economy. So, it's kind of scary, but knowing that this big machine is behind her, that also means that the mail-in ballots, the voting machines, they're all going to favor her. So we have a very, very, very hard battle in front of us. So if you start running away because Trump is pulling in some Democrats, then it's not going to, what we need to happen is not going to happen. We need as many people as possible. And I was one of them. I was one of the people just a week ago that I'm not even going to partake. I'm not even going to vote. I'm just not participating because it's a sham. But then when I see them coming together, it's like, okay, they're coming together. I'm going to come support that because I understand that is what needs to happen. So even if they are planning to steal it, right? Like I said before, if it was Biden that was running, totally made more sense to me to vote because I knew and knew that a lot of Democrats did not support Joe Biden. A lot of big influencer Democrats, a lot of big influencer lefties did not want Joe Biden in there because they knew he had no support and they knew he could not beat Donald Trump. And then had he, through cheating again, beat Donald Trump, I think a lot of Democrats would have been like, say what? Maybe they were right about 2020 because there's no way he got this many votes, however many he would have to need to beat Trump. Now, with all the optics of what's going on in the Harris campaign, they can totally convince their base that she won. But Trump got 76 million votes last time. And you can pretty much count that those are legitimate votes because we know a lot of his votes were destroyed. We know a lot of his votes went to Biden through the voting machines. They were flipped. So if he got 76 million in a system that cheated him out of votes, think of what he might get this time. Joe Biden did not get 81 million votes, but I'm pretty sure Donald Trump will surpass that this election. I that's what I feel. And if he surpasses 80 million votes, so let's say he gets 85 million votes, that means in order to look legitimate, Kamala Harris is going to have to get, 89, 90 million votes. That would be roughly 200 million people voting. So I don't think their party would buy that. Maybe they would, but that's what I'm saying. If it was Biden, they for sure wouldn't. But with Kamala, I do think they can sell it. I do think they could sell that she beat him legitimately with that many votes. We know they have the illegals in here registering to vote when they go in to get the money and stuff that they're given. I saw a little documentary yesterday saying that in New York, they're being put up in there's a couple of like old, really fancy hotels that they're being put up in, and they're given $1,600 a month to live off of, no rent or anything. And our freaking homeless veterans can't even get that. But these people, which drives me nuts, and that's a story for another day as well. But like the path is laid, for rigging. It's definitely laid. But I'm to the point now where it's like I have more to lose by not voting than I do by voting. Even though I am the biggest skeptic and absolutely know, because I was in it firsthand, that the election system is a complete sham. But when Bobby Kennedy said that, one of the main priorities would be election reform, that is a huge one to me, because if we can reform our elections, we can reform this system and make it so that, IDs are required. We go back to paper ballots, no more mail-in, no more voting machines. Then And also get rid of like this whole debate commission, like the private debate commission, because Bobby Kennedy wasn't allowed to even be on a stage anywhere. Tulsi Gabbard was kicked off a stage because she was polling at the right percentage to be on the stage for one of the debates. But then because she was qualified, they raised it. It went from like 12% to 15% because they knew she wouldn't reach that in time. So they just manipulate it. So if we can remove that manipulation, we could see a possible legitimate third party candidates. We could see a change where third party candidates would actually be viable, and we'd be able to hear from them. We'd be able to see them. And I know that that's wishful thinking, and like Clayton said today, I don't know if you watch Redacted, but Clayton said he's a glass half full kind of guy. And so am I. I'm optimistic. Sometimes when I pull back, it's not because I'm upset or I'm being negative or anything like that. I'm just a realist. I'm a realist, and I think of things realistically and look at things through a realism lens, and I can see the writing on the wall. That's why since I saw them cheat Ron Paul out of the 2012 election, I have not voted, because I saw firsthand what a complete sham it is. But if you have, like the whole too big to rig idea, I kind of agree with that, because like they can only hide so much. And there's a lot of shenanigans going on with like bringing in poll watchers. I saw a story where many Republicans applied to be poll watchers, and so did Democrats, and they ended up hiring 50 Republicans and 2,300 Democrats to watch the polls, or to do the poll things in a certain state. I can't remember what state it was. So the shenanigans are already in place. They're already in play. Everything's already set up. So, that's why now I believe that we just have to make it too big to rig. Even if you're on the fence, even if you're somebody who's like, believes like I do that the system is a complete sham, I'm going to give it one time. I'm going to give it this one time, because my thought has always been, until it's reformed, until it's fixed, until it's back to paper ballots, it's back to proving your citizenship, I'm not partaking. But if there is a party or an administration that is saying those things, and I know we've been promised stuff over and over and over again, we hardly ever get it, but I am going to put faith in this, because I see people giving up. Bobby Kennedy is giving up his lifelong belief and lifelong party that his father, his uncle, like they were diehard Democrats. But John F. Kennedy would have done the exact same thing that Bobby just did if he saw today's Democratic Party. They're all saying John and Bobby would be rolling over in their graves if they saw what RFK Jr. did. No. They would be rolling in their grave seeing what you're doing, Democrats, what the left is doing. They would be rolling in their graves. They would do exactly what Bobby did. I guarantee it. All you have to do is listen to their speeches. They were all about freedom of speech. They were all about transparency in the media. They were all about informing the public. And we don't get that anymore. So they would be absolutely, with all of the censorship that the Democrats are after, all of the things that they're doing to keep people off the ballots and everything, like denying third parties and everything, like legitimately fighting to keep them off ballots, suing to keep them off ballots. And they claim to be the party of democracy. So it's all blatant lies. So no, the Bobby Sr. and John F. Kennedy would definitely be rolling in their graves if they saw the Democratic Party. So that it was Bobby Kennedy's speech, Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s speech, that inspired me. It really was. Like, that put me over the edge, because like I said, I saw two polar opposite views that have some middle ground, right? They said they have some core things that they believe the same, but out here they're different. But they're willing to put that aside and deal with that on another day, at another time, for the greater good of the country. And that is exactly what we need. That is the leadership we need. That is the direction we need. Because, like I said, if we don't do that, it's just going to completely stay this way. We're going to be infighting each other, and there's going to be no bridge to bring us together. And I feel like that bridge is finally here. And I do feel, and every election we say this is the most important election of our lifetime. I feel like this election is the country's most important election in the lifetime, because I do not know how this country will survive 4 years of Kamala. Will it? Probably, yes. But it will be miserable. It will be absolutely miserable. You know, wars will continue. People will keep flooding the border. And at some point, that's just not sustainable. We're losing the dollar. You know, the BRICS nations are forming, and we're going to lose the dollar. I mean, we pretty much already have. You know, I don't think it's absolutely going to collapse. It is possible that it could, but I don't believe that it can collapse. I'm not an economist, and I know what they could do to save the dollar is just stop spending overseas, bring all the troops home, close all the bases, quit blowing money overseas, and use it here and not over there. You know, if we did that, I think we could probably get it under control. I mean, it is 35 trillion. So, I mean, we're paying off debt. So who knows? But I still think it is at this point salvageable. And we have people that are willing to go in there and potentially fix those relationships. You know, we shouldn't be enemies with Russia. We should be allies. You know, I don't think we would have many enemies. You know, the thing that gets me is most of these other nations that are working on nuclear weapons and trying to solidify themselves in the regions is because they want to defend themselves from us. You know, there is no other country other than Israel that does offensive war. We should only ever engage in defensive war. We should never engage in offensive war, because that just means what? That we're just way better than everyone, and that's what we're going to do. We think you're going to do something. We think you're going to build nukes, Iran, so we're going to preemptively try and stop that, when we're the only ones in the world that have ever used nukes, the United States, on Japan, on innocent populations. So, you know, I just feel like this has become the right thing for me to do. And I'm just going to really hope and, you know, just really like put all of my positive energy into that happening, into them actually getting in and actually doing what what they say they're going to do. And there'll be other people in there holding a feet to the fire. And you know, agreements will be made and conversations will be had. And I'm just going to hope that they do what they say, and it's going to fix things. So where are you at on all of this? I'd be really curious to know, like, are you one of the people that are, and no judgment if you are, but are you one of the people that are like, if he brings on more Democrats, I'm out of here? And certain Democrats I can understand. If he's bringing in like far left fringe people, but even then, it's like, even then, if you can reach them in some way, find some common ground, would that necessarily be a bad thing? I don't know at this point. I mean, I don't know, you know, because like if you get people having conversations and having arguments, you pretty much have to either agree to disagree, or you find common ground. You find, you know, like I honestly feel like Roe v. Wade was the common ground that made everybody happy. We should have just left that as it was. I know that it's not constitutional. It could have been codified. It could have been made an amendment. It could have been added. You know, they could have done that because it was a compromise that both sides pretty much agreed with. Pretty much. I mean, you know, not everybody, but it was at least something where we weren't completely like fighting about it. You're always going to have people that do, but it's like, why fight it? There's only one side that gets them anyway, right? So it's like basically letting them weed themselves out. So it's like, maybe you should be pro abortion for a while, pro choice, because it's only the fringe that are going to be doing it. And eventually there's not going to be any more kids in that sector. And they'll just kind of fall off the population, I guess, you know? So genocide themselves in a way. I don't know. So anyway, That was dark. That felt dark. But it's actually kind of true. But thank you guys so much again for being a seeker and watching these videos. I'm sorry that I haven't posted in a while. It has been a crazy couple weeks moving. I still got so much to do. I'm like doing a box at a time and then sitting down, relaxing, doing another box. And my upstairs has glasses and stuff all over the counter, and it's just kind of messy. And I wanted this to be a fresh start. So I'm trying to like, put everything away or like organize it as I'm going, instead of like throwing it in a corner and be like, I'll deal with that next year. I'm trying to deal with everything as I'm doing it. So hopefully you enjoy the setup. It looks okay, sounds okay. It's going to be temporary and I got an electrician coming to look at like running some power outlets and stuff in here, because I've only got one outlet down here and it's way over on the other side of the room. So I have to run an extension cord over here. Then I have I have two extension cords, one going over to what's going to be the theater area. So I've got TV over there with the entertainment cabinet, and then this studio right here. And it's only a 15 amp fuse. So I don't want to be running computers and lights and everything like multiple on a 15 amp fuse, because that's going to blow it. Like I probably like turn on the TV. If I turn on another couple lights over there and another computer, it'd probably blow it. And I don't want it to blow. So I talked to an electrician today. He's going to possibly come back and look at running some outlets off of the lights with 4 inputs, and then I'll just run the cords along the ceiling and down, and he's going to put in 2 more breakers that'll be 20 amp. So that will be good, because I'll have a 20 amp over here and a 20 amp over there. So boom, we'll be good. So I'll make some videos. If you're not a member of the channel, become a member, and I'll do some more behind the scenes and show you guys kind of like what I'm setting up and how I set it up. I did not make a video of me doing this today like I planned, because I was rushing around too much, and like setting up a camera and doing all that, just it takes a little bit of time and thinking. So I didn't do it. So I apologize, but I will do a walk around of what I did and show you how I got it set up temporarily. And if you're a member, so if you're not a member, join the channel for as low as 99 cents a month, and you'll get behind the scenes content and early video releases. Like I'll probably release this video that I'm making right now early as soon as I'm done editing it and getting it out. All right. So thanks you guys so much. Subscribe if you want more content like this. I want to know what you think in the comments. This is a channel for conversation. Let's have conversations. Let's talk to one another. Let's be civil. We don't have to call names and all that. There's people that come in here and just shout names and then run away and don't come back and say anything to back up whatever they're saying. So have real conversations. That's how we move forward. That's how we fix things. It's putting our differences aside, trying to find common ground and bridge that divide. Synergy, right? Synergy. All right. Thanks, you guys. Peace.